Okay, so we're going to look at the collection of objects that were found in and around the ship that was buried at Sutton Hoo. Now, first of all, what do some of these objects have in common? That's right, some of these objects are weapons. So, what weapons can you see that you know here? Did you spot the sword is a weapon? Now, in the Anglo-Saxon era, the sword was the most important weapon. Now, this was often passed down from father to son. And when warriors, so people who were really, who were fighters, when they died, they were even buried with the sword beside them. Now, that might tell you what type of person this was. Was it a male? Was it a female? Were they rich? We've also got the helmet, one of our weapons, a helmet. Now, this was the example of this helmet had broken to 500 pieces. It took a whole year for the archaeologists to build them together again and piece it together. Now, this is really interesting because both of these objects are made of iron. Iron is quite an expensive material to make things out of. So that might suggest something about who was buried there too. We've got a shield as well. A shield made of wood and gold. Gold? This person must not be poor. Surely not. A spear as well. So this person now, could they have been a fighter? They may have been a fighter. This person also had a lyre. Now, a lyre is an instrument similar to a harp. So you can see here it's got strings to pluck, to play a sound. Now, this object was found. Does that mean that this person is into music? This person also had a horn. Now, not a horn that we'd wear on our head, for example. This horn was something that you drink out of. So you'd be able to drink out of this horn, and it's made out of cow horn, so real cow horn. And who might have that? Why might they have a horn, and why might they be drinking out of it? They must be pretty posh, pretty rich to be able to have all of these items. Now, these spoons aren't just any spoons. Look what they're made of. They're made of silver. Now, they're just spoons that this person would have used at, say, a dinner party or just when eating their food. But because they're made of silver, and they also have something, if you look closely, something engraved. Now, we are not sure what is engraved here, but if something is to be engraved in an item like that in the Anglo-Saxon era, it must mean that they are quite important. Here is a scepter. Now, this might be something that you haven't heard of before. Now, this is made of stone and bronze. And a scepter would be used by the Anglo-Saxons to sharpen their swords, make them nice and sharp to be able to fight. And they're only used for special occasions, usually by royal people, so kings or queens, to show that they are royal. So that was another item that they had too. And if they're only used by these special people, what does that suggest about the person who would have been buried in the ship if their skeleton was still there? What does it suggest about them? They also had a hanging bowl. So this hanging bowl was made of bronze, and it usually had water inside for this person or other Anglo-Saxons to be able to wash their hands and keep clean after a feast. Now, this is a bit like the Romans. When the Romans liked their hygiene, they liked to be clean. They really valued their appearance, didn't they? And to me, this is the picture that I'm getting about this person just from these objects. Now, they also had a purse, but it wasn't just any old purse. It was also a gold purse. But when the archaeologists looked inside the gold purse, they found 37 gold coins. Now, I don't know if you've ever looked at some of your coins, if you've got coins in your grown-up's purse that you've seen before, but there are dates on the coins to tell you when the coins were made. And what the archaeologists did, that they looked at the coins and they looked at the date, and that helped them to reveal when the ship was buried. So that helped them get more information. There's a few more objects that were also discovered in and around the ship at Sutton Hoo. And one of these is a Coptic bowl. So we've already looked at the hanging bowl used for people to wash their hands and feet. But this Coptic bowl is really, really ancient. It was made in ancient Egypt. It was made of brass, which is another type of material, and this would have probably been used to eat off too. Similarly, a dish here. But notice what most of their things are made of. Silver. Rather than just wood or even plastic, they were all made of like silver and gold. And that tells us a really big thing about this person. Did they really like the good things in life? Were they an important person? Were they valued? Strange. They also had gaming pieces. What on earth do you think this person would do with gaming pieces? Well, Anglo-Saxons really liked to play board games, and because they loved it so much, they were sometimes buried with the dice or pieces from the board game. So this person might have been playing board games on the ship, and then when the ship was buried, the gaming pieces would have still been there. The final two objects are a bucket, which was made out of wood and iron, just used for the normal bucket things, so getting water to and from places, and also a shoulder clasp. Now this is a bit like the epaulets that we saw in our reading video and we learned about, and these are things that people who were in the military or people who were powerful or wealthy had on their armour, on their shoulders, and this was used to fasten the different armour, so keep it all in place and make sure it all stays still and secure. And this was made of gold too. So lots and lots of things are made of gold. Now, the archaeologists and other people found these objects really, really significant. And they were that significant and they were that important to life in Britain now and today that they are all now displayed in the British Museum, which can be found in London. So if you happen to be in London one day, not anytime soon, but if you happen to be in London in the near future, fingers crossed, you might go to the British Museum. And if you do go to the British Museum, have a look for the objects that were found in the mound in Sutton Hoo. Now, we have looked today, we have discovered what Sutton Hoo is. And we have started to think, well, we know that there were lots of objects that were in and around the ship, but what does this tell us about the person? Now in your resources pack, you've got the different object cards that we've looked at today. And what you need to start to think about is working your way through each of these boxes. Now there are two statements in each box and you tick one of them based on what you think from the object. So it's the first one is the person buried at Sutton Hoo was a woman. The person buried at Sutton Hoo was a man. So using the objects to help you, don't just guess, you need to make an educated guess. The reason being you need to explain why you think that after. So you tick either it's a woman or a man. If you think it's a woman, you need to say, I know this because the object, so you might give the object of a spoon, for example, is what a woman would wear. Obviously, a woman wouldn't wear a spoon, but you might think it's a man. You might say, I know this because the object of a helmet is what a man would wear to fight, for example. So you need to start justifying your answers there too. Make sure your handwriting is quite small. It does fill the whole A4 sheet, this page, but you'll still need to make sure you've got at least 3 lines worth, just like I have. And then you move on to the next one. The person was rich, the person was poor. Tick which one. Be prepared to justify this by saying, I know this because rich or poor people in the Anglo-Saxon era would use what object to do what. So everything we've learned about today and everything you know so far really, because most of these objects are objects that you know from the Roman topic as well, okay? And then you make your way around them. So you only tick one, but you need to be prepared to justify your answer too. Now, there's no right or wrong answer, but I'd like you to try and use your knowledge on the different objects to help you. Try and reference one object, so try and mention one object for each box, okay? So you might say, I know this because the object helmet is blah, blah, blah. I know this because the people in the Anglo-Saxon era would use maybe spoons to do this. They're made out of metal. Start talking about the materials as well. Okay, so that is your task for today. This should not take you. You should spend time on this, okay? Because next lesson we're going to find out who was buried at Sutton Hoo. So you're going to find out if your observations were correct. So we need to be super detectives today. Okay, fantastic listening today, Year 4. I know it was a longer video than usual, but you have sat so beautifully, so well done. Now, What have we found out about the burial ship at Sutton Hoo? The burial ship, sorry. And what kind of time period do you think we're looking at and why? Pause the video and have a think. Okay, fantastic listening today, Year 4. Have a lovely rest of your day and I will see you in our next lesson. Goodbye.